Okay, welcome to my class. This time we are going to be learning something about compare and contrasting. So the standard for this lesson is RL 3.9, which is states compare and contrast the theme, setting, and plot of stories written by the same author about the same or similar characters. And this time basically we are going to be comparing characters. Okay, characters, not only characters, and also we can be comparing a plot of stories and the settings and the themes. Let's go to our next slide so we can see what is that about. Here we have the information about it. So it says compare and contrast information. This time we're going to be comparing information. To compare two things is to show similarities between them. Means to show similarity. Similarity means that how are them equal. To contrast two things is to show the differences between two things. How is this different than another? If you see this picture right here, you can see this picture, which is how is the setting or how is the weather around. When you can see also the color is way different than the one we have on the right side. You can see on the right side, which is greener, it has water around, pine trees or evergreen trees, and the other side it looks like a desert where everything is brown. We have a question. The question says, how are the things in these pictures alike and different? The answer, we have deserts and forests have plants. That's something that have similar. That will be the similarity. There are plants here that they adapt to that environment, and there are plants on the other side, which is on the forest, that also adapt according to the environment or to the weather in that area. Deserts are brown and dusty. That is true. That's a fact. While forests are green and fresh. They are green and fresh because of the plants that are in there, and also because the weather is cooler in that area as well. Now we have here compare. Compare is to find how are them similar. That what compare means. Look, in order to find in a text when you are reading, to figure out if the author is comparing or contrasting, you will be looking for word like similar, in the same way, likewise, just like, as well, in addition. Those are like clue words that will help you to understand or to identify if the author is trying to compare. Or these are clue words actually that will indicate if that text is comparing two things or not. Now, on the other hand, we have contrast. What is contrast? Contrast is to find differences. How are them different? We have to look for word like different in contrast. On the other hand, however, on the contrary, instead. These are clue words that will help you to understand if the author is comparing or is contrasting. Let's go to our next slide. We have here two things. This is coming from the picture we have before. Read a piece and try the sample question that follows. Deserts are hot and dry places. They receive little rainfall. Deserts are full of sand, rocks, and also found in deserts. Rocks are also found in deserts. It is usually windy in a desert. Very few plants and animals can be found in the desert because there's no life actually in the desert. Not that much life in the desert. That's why a few plants are found in there, and also animals. A camel is an animal that lives in a desert, so camel has made adaptations in order to be able to live in such hard condition, hot in the day and cold at night. Now let's talk about forest. Forests are full of trees and plants and are home to many animals and birds because the abundance of plants basically can grow fruits And because of those fruits, many animals love to be in the forest because they can feed themselves from there. Forests receive a lot of rainfall. They have a lot of water. Because of the rainfall in the forest, that's why it's fresh. It's fresh and it's a nice place where basically animals love to be because of the freshness in it. They have a lot of water. Okay, you need water to survive, so water is one of the most important mineral in the world. Without water, there's no life basically. Forests are usually cool and wet. See, cool and wet, I mean, this is a perfect place for camping. A tiger is a wild animal that lives in the forest. The tiger decides to live in the forest because he can feed himself from the other animals, and beside that he can camouflage. He can hide himself somewhere. In the desert will be hard for a tiger to live because how hot it is. Question 1. The question 1 is basically to compare what is similar about desert and forest. Desert and forest both have plants and animals. That is true. That's a fact. Okay. What about second question? And we have the answer here too, just to guide you. How are desert and forest different? Desert get very little rain, while forests get a lot of rain. That's a difference between that. And also looking at that, one of the differences between the desert and the forest is that few animals lives in the desert, while in the forest many animals live in there. Now we have here another story. So two stories basically. We are comparing and contrasting. Compare and contrast to find similarities and find differences. The starling. The starling is a common bird in much of the United States. Starlings are not native to this country. This means they were brought from elsewhere. They mainly eat insects and fruit, but they also eat many other things such as plants. They like to live in low-lying areas such as fields. Starlings are a little smaller than robins and have short tails. Their coloring is dark, but they can look purple or greenish in certain light. Starling can destroy farm crops by eating the young plants. Other times they are helpful to farmers because they eat harmful bugs like locusts. Starlings are usually loud and they travel in large areas. So this first story is talking about the bird not native to this country. Now let's talk about the second story. The Steller's jay. This large dark jay is native to western United States. This is from this country actually. It is often seen in forests as well as in parks and backyards. In the woods, the Steller's jay flies around very high trees, but is easily to hear its harsh-sounding call, which is more like a loud squawk. This bird has a crest that stands up on its head, which is black. The rest of its body is all blue. It has a long straight beak and a long tail. It is a scavenger bird. This means it picks up any leftover food it sees around, such as the food left by humans. It's seen one at a time in pairs. It's seen one at a time or in pairs rather than in flocks. In what way are these two passages similar? They both talk about forests? No, that's not true. They are both about a type of bird? Well, pretty much. They are both about zoo animals. This doesn't talk about zoo here. They both mention farm crops? No. So then the right answer for this is both stories are talking about a type of bird. Compare and contrasting. In order to compare and contrast, you need to read at least two stories, two items two things that you have to be able to identify. How are those two objects similar, or how are them different? In this case, we are going to be comparing hippopotamuses and rhinoceroses. I don't know if I pronounced this right. If I pronounced this right. Hippopotamuses, or hippos, are the third largest land animals in the world. These animals are mainly found in African countries. They are herbivores. This means they eat grass, plants, and leaves rather than meat. The skin of a hippopotamus is thick, smooth, and gray. Hippos do not have hair on their skin. The heads of these animals are huge. They have large and wide mouth too. Their teeth are big and sharp, and they use them to protect themselves from other animals. It means they defend themselves by biting, or that's the way how they defend themselves, by biting actually. So we got here. Let's talk about their teeth. I'm trying to here. Okay, so this might be a very thick highlighter. Okay, I'm gonna change that to a marker. Well, we were saying that their teeth are big and sharp, and they use them to protect themselves from other animals. Hippos do not have horns on their heads. The legs of hippopotamuses are short and plump. They are heavy animals and weigh around 3,900 pounds or 3,900 pounds. Hippos are around 13 feet long and 5 feet tall. These animals live near rivers or lakes and spend their time in and out of the water. This means that they are going back and forth to the water. This helps their bodies stay cool in warm weather. Hippos do not know how to swim. Wow. So they go underwater for about 5 minutes and come up to breathe air. Sometimes they sleep underwater. How is that possible? 2. At night, they step out of the water for a few hours to feed on grass and plants. These animals usually spend their time relaxing. Wow, that's a good entertainment they got. Now let's go to our second story or passage to compare. Rhinoceroses. Rhinoceroses or rhinos are a huge animal. Both of them are huge. They are found in Africa. Both are found in Africa and some part of Asia, but this one goes to Asia. Rhinos usually live in grasslands or forests. There are 5 types of rhinoceroses: the Javan, the Sumatran, the black, the white, and Indian. Rhinos do not eat meat. They eat only plants and grass. Both animals are herbivores. The lips of the white rhino are shaped like a square. This helps it to feed on grass. The pointed lips of the other type of rhinos help them to eat the leaves of trees and bushes easily. Rhinos have large heads and bodies, short necks, and broad chests. These animals are usually found around 6 feet tall and 12 feet long. They weigh around 6,000 pounds. Rhinoceroses may be gray, white, black, or yellowish brown in color. They live around 35 years. These rhinoceros animals can run at a speed of 30 miles per hour fast. Horns are a useful part of the heads. Hippo doesn't have horns, but rhinos does. The Indian and the Javan rhinoceroses have only one horn, while the other type of rhinoceroses or rhinos have 2 horns on their heads. What is one thing the hippopotamuses and rhinoceroses have in common? Let's see. They have big sharp teeth. They run at great speed. We don't talk about that. They are 6 feet tall. Let's say that. Oh no, that's not true, because the hippo are 13 feet long and 5 feet tall, while the rhinos are 12 feet long. 6 feet tall and 12 feet long. So that's not true. They eat only plants and grass. Well, that might be pretty much our answer. They have big sharp teeth. Now the teeth changes, so this is not the correct answer. So this is the way how we compare and how we contrast two stories. We compare to find differences and find similarities. In order to compare two stories, two items, two things, you have to observe them carefully, or you have to read the story completely in order to identify how are them similar and how are them different. This is our lesson today about compare and contrast. I hope you enjoy it. And compare and contrast, because we compare and contrast every single day. You compare yourself with somebody else. We compare our clothing, we compare our shoes, we compare our food, we compare the restaurants, we know who is best, who is not. We compare which clothes fits tight, which is not. So then compare and contrast is used. We use it in our daily lives. We just don't realize it sometimes. It's not only applied to stories, it's also applied to real life. Thank you.